Hi, I'm Jodi Daly, and this is Let's Talk, where consumers like all of us talk about what matters. Now, we've all heard the term right-sizing in business, but what about right-sizing your life? Well, Americans everywhere are stepping back and looking at what their right-sized life is. So how do we make the changes to get there with as little pain as possible? Well, today we're going to meet some people who took that leap of change to find their right-sized life. So stay with us.
Want to make your mealtime a little more enjoyable? Check out the ready-to-heat, ready-to-serve meals and side dishes offered at your favorite supermarket. Whether it's chilled, or fresh, or frozen, you can taste the cuisines of the world. And if you buy the supermarket store brands, you can be sure of quality and freshness at reasonable prices. Give them a try and add something special to mealtime.
We make changes at every stage of our life. We grow up, we go to school, we spread our wings, start a family, and then become an empty nester. Well, these milestones can bring drastic changes, and some we're just not ready for. But today we're talking to people who have embraced those changes and found the exact right size for their lives. And it's not just in square footage either, but in quality of the world around them. Now, Natalie, you are a real estate consultant, and you have lots and lots of clients who've gone through these stages, and you've helped them right size. Am I correct?
You're right.
And Joe, you have moved from a smaller space in an urban area to a larger space because of whatever lifestyle changes you needed to make. Am I correct?
Correct, yes.
And flip side of that, Chris, you went from big to small.
Yep.
And you went from mom and dad to your own, right, Michelle? Good. Well, we're going to talk about that in just a second. But Joe, first I want to start with you. Now, you were in an urban area. You were part of the community. You had all kinds of stuff going on right around you. You walked everywhere. And all of a sudden, you need a garage.
Sure.
What happened?
Well, we were in the area for over 20 years, our whole adult life, and we loved it. And I was very involved in the community, and it was a great place. But our kids were getting older, and school was coming up, and we had no space.
How many kids?
2 kids,
How
10 and
old?
12,
Okay.
boy, girl. And we had bought a 12.5-foot wide brownstone for the cheap price of $800,000, and
Mind boggles.
And we were planning on staying, but then we just were running out of space. They couldn't stay in the same room. We had no outdoor space to think of, and we just said, you know what, we really got to take the leap and try moving out to the burbs and see how we like it. If we don't like it, we could always move back, but we just loved it. And we have space. We have a yard where we have a trampoline, a volleyball court. I put up a horseshoe pit in my own backyard. My hammock is back out.
And your daughter, as I recall, also has a trampoline in her bedroom.
I built her
own
a
bedroom.
trampoline bed, so she jumps into the bed from the trampoline. So
What
yep.
were some of the things that you had to give up, though, in order to get this lifestyle that you cherish now? I mean, it wasn't just a cut and dry situation.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was the geography of being that close to everything we needed. Walking to a restaurant, walking around a corner and sitting on the stoop with my buddy Vito and having a glass of wine at night, and all those conveniences of just, oh, we forgot milk, or let me walk around the corner and get it. Now I have to get in my car and drive every time I forgot something or need to do anything. So that convenience was probably the biggest factor we gave up, and and being there for 20 years, we had a lot of friends that we had to kind of leave, but we're close enough that we still see a lot of people.
You mean that friends won't come out and see you out in the burbs?
No, they don't want to come out in the burbs. It's
geographically convenient relationships.
Exactly.
I know all about it.
Yeah.
In all fairness, I've never been invited, so and I've never friends.
Our friends have been invited.
Oh, whoa, got you on that one, Chris. And Chris, you did the direct opposite of what Joe did, didn't you? Now, tell us about your lifestyle change.
It was a big lifestyle change. So I went from living in a 1,500 square foot apartment to a 300 square foot apartment with a 90-pound dog at the time.
Wow.
So it was a big change. We moved downtown into New York City, and I think for me, what came out of it, or the biggest thing that came out of it was, hey, I have, all this, I have less responsibility, more flexibility.
In what way?
Less responsibility in that owning the apartment that I lived in, there's just a lot more to take care of in a bigger space. Whereas in the city, I have cleaning service that comes in, and I have just a studio. So there's really not much to have to take care of, and I like a clean space.
And I hope you're not
too.
paying your cleaning service too much, because 300 square feet, you could do that in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's also city prices, so that's one of the things that you do give up for moving into New York.
But you're way too tan to be a New Yorker.
Yeah, the goal is to never lose my tan, actually.
And how do you manage that?
Yeah, so I spend a fair amount of my time in New York, but also we have clients spread throughout the country, really. So when it comes to setting meetings, I don't mind going down to the southern states.
Of course not.
Especially this time of year to escape the cold. But all in all, I do travel quite a bit for work. So it allows me to kind of get out and maybe get on the golf course on the weekend or something and
Sure.
hang out at the pool.
Sure. And Michelle is Chris's sister, and you kind of stepped in it when he left his apartment because you went from mom and dad's right into the apartment, right?
Absolutely.
So how is it not having someone do your laundry and cook you meals?
Well, I'm a pretty good cook myself.
Oh, good.
She brings me meals
So
now.
we'll be right over. We're all going to Michelle.
So huge change. I now cook him food and my roommate and my dog.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it's really nice. You know, I like living on my own.
Were you ready? Were you ready?
Yes. Yes, I was definitely ready to leave my parents. I love my parents. We have a great relationship, but you know, being out in the burbs and kind of away from the city, I was always traveling up here every weekend, and it just makes more sense for me to be up here, especially, you know, Christopher and I working together, and you know, being in Manhattan most of the time, it works out much better.
Plus the fact you don't have to cook much when you're in Manhattan because there's only about 1 million restaurants.
It works out that I'm a huge foodie, so.
There you go. Well, when we come back, we're going to hear from a professional on how she helps her clients navigate these major lifestyle changes.
Supermarkets can get pretty confusing nowadays. So many aisles, so many products. How can you save time and money when you shop? Get into the habit of buying your store's store brands. You get the same quality as national brands and save at the cash register. No apps, no coupons, just money in your pocket. Give them a try and smile your way through the supermarket.
Welcome back. For those of you who have just joined us, we're talking about right-sizing your life. Now, Natalie, you're a real estate consultant, and I'm sure that you have had clients like Chris, Michelle, and Joe. Tell us, when I say right-sizing, what comes to mind for you?
The first thing that comes to mind is economical and emotional fit. So that, to me, is right sizing. Does it make sense economically? Does it make sense for your emotional well-being?
I imagine that as a realtor, you're not just selling houses. You're an accountant, you're a counselor, you're a mom half the time. What are some of the big things that come into play when people are making these changes?
Okay, so I use this methodical process like a home fit scorecard, and I score. We work together, the client and I, and we score their financial fit. We score their emotional fit, the community fit, the maintenance fit, the long-term fit. Once we understand what that score process is, we identify the opportunity. So whether that's going from urban to suburban, or in your case, from urban to smaller urban.
This to this.
Yes. So that's what we try to understand. What are those opportunities? Do you need a good school system? Do you need more open space, parks? Or would you rather be in the urban lifestyle, the urban sophisticate? You're a foodie. That's the perfect profile of an urban sophisticate. Folks that look for the mom and pop artisan coffee shops, etc. Sure. So it depends on what you're looking for and what your happiness level is.
All right, that's the other thing. Are you guys happy?
Absolutely.
Very.
Really? Oh, look at you. He's like jumping at you.
It's like
I love living in.
booking his next flight out of Florida.
Go ahead.
No, I do really love living in New York City. It's the energy here, and you know, living outside of the city for my entire life, and then coming in, it's something I always wanted to do, and I always wanted to work here. So, being as though I'm here now and doing it and experiencing it, just really, really happy.
Now, what do you think, Natalie, about, was this a snap decision for you, or did you work on it?
It was not necessarily a snap decision. I went through a lot of changes a few years ago, so it was like the third pillar of the changes that I wanted
Natalie,
to make.
do you find that people are making these lifestyle changes as snap decisions, or are they working on them, or are they forced into them? What do you find?
So I think it's two things, or maybe more even. But you've got that gut feeling. You feel a change is about to come on. That's one. It's less subtle. And then there's that life change event, whether it's, you know, children's school, you're getting married, or
having a baby,
or you're an empty nester. So there are other life events that are more blunt, less subtle, that force you to make that change.
Well, at least having a baby, you get 9 months to plan.
Well, that's true.
A little bit of time.
What is the most difficult thing that you find when people are making these changes and right-sizing, the things that they have to give up, and how do you help them through that?
So that's what we identify as like their dangers, right? So the dangers could be whether it's financial danger, or they're feeling hesitant to make that change. They don't want to leave their friends. They don't want to leave that community. But when we explore that a little further and point out that they really are dangers, they're keeping them stuck in that place. Let's point out the opportunities.
You're saying the danger then is staying stuck and not making the change.
Correct.
Oh, I never thought of that. Wow. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, when we were thinking about it, we were like, are we doing the right thing for our kids, keeping them where we are? Like, is it selfish that we're staying here because we enjoy going out and we want to stoop out? And when we move, we're like, you know what, this is so much better for our kids where we are right now. And we were kind of kicking ourselves to say we should have done this a little earlier because it's just a better environment for our kids. Now, when they were younger, it was great. It was perfect for the whole family. But now where we're at now with school coming up, I mean, it's $20,000 to go to private school, which is where we would have to send our kids. Now we don't have to worry about that. We picked a town. When we're talking about where do we go and how do you pick, we picked a town first.
Okay.
And then we picked a house. I actually hated the house that we picked. But my wife picked it, and she liked it. And
now he loves it, dear.
And now I love it.
Loves the
yes.
house.
Well, she was saying the only thing she didn't want was a split level the entire time, and we bought a split level.
And now he loves it.
I love the split level, yeah. So, but the location was great. It was right next to the school, so my kids walk to both schools. They're going to a high school. It's number 8 in the state, and it's free.
And so that, you know, I'm just doing math in my head. So at $40,000 a year for 2 kids, that could be college down the road.
College is,
but you don't have to worry about that now. And God knows you don't have to think about it at all. I have one last question for you. When it comes to helping people on their search, what is the one thing that you want to leave our audience with that they should think about right off the bat?
Really, their emotional well-being at the end of the day, right?
Okay.
It comes down to how comfortable are you in your environment and what makes you happy.
And what about you, Chris? What would you say you looked for and found?
What I looked for was something that can give me access to more resources, and I found it. I go out to different dinners every night and have everything really right at my fingertips.
And Michelle?
Well, I think Chris and I were kind of brought up on if there's a good opportunity, you kind of got to take it and see what comes along. So I had a good opportunity and I took it, and it's worked out for the better.
Perfect. And Joe?
I think you have to pick the right town. We went and picked a town first, like I said before. I had friends that had moved out to the burbs, and they hated it. I'm like, you're not in a good town. So like, we picked our town. We were very happy with what we were looking for in the town.
But you also got more room, better schools, and a trampoline. You got a new lifestyle for yourself, and you got less stuff and more flexibility. And hopefully, you'll be getting new clients if you see this, because they'll understand that you understand right sizing. So let me ask you this. Do you all think for this point in your life you have right-sized?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And do you have tips on how to help your new clients that we've gotten you from the show?
I do. I've picked up a little bit of everything.
Perfect.
Good to go.
Then my work here is done. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. For more information on what you've seen on today's show, please visit Store Brands USA, the channel here on YouTube, or go to storebrandsusa.com for shopping information, recipe ideas, and more. I'm Jodi Daly, and I'll see you next time for another edition of Let's Talk. I'm right-sized, I promise.